Are you a parent, older sibling, or uncle? Has our little one ever had an imaginary friend who seemed more than just a friend? Imagine if that imaginary friend wasn't just in their imagination, but actually had evil intentions that threatened the safety of those around them. What if, one day, that imaginary friend told our kid to do something terrifying? Welcome to I Felt the Dark. This story isn't just about spirits or invisible beings, but about an imaginary friend who takes control of a child's mind and actions. A force unseen by the naked eye, yet real enough to be felt and capable of changing everything. This is the story of Alicia, a little girl with a terrifying imaginary friend who ends in suicide. Before we begin, please make sure to subscribe. Alicia, my 6-year-old daughter, was initially known as a cheerful and imaginative child. One day, she started talking about her imaginary friend, Luna. We thought it was normal. Little kids often create imaginary friends as part of their development. But Luna turned out to be no ordinary friend. This figure began telling Alicia to do strange and worrying things. At first, I thought it was just a phase. Alicia was often seen talking to herself or playing as if Luna was truly there. However, over time, we began to notice signs that this was more than just a fantasy. One morning, my wife's wallet went missing. After searching the whole house, we found it hidden under a pile of books in Alicia's room. When asked, Alicia casually replied, "Luna told me to take it." We tried to brush it off, but everything changed when her step-sibling stepped on a rusty screw intentionally placed in their shoe. The wound became a serious infection, and when we asked what had happened, Alicia innocently said it was Luna's idea. She said it would make everything better, she said. Her statement felt completely wrong, and for the first time, I felt like something was controlling my daughter. We immediately took Alicia to a psychologist. My wife started spending more time with her, trying to understand what was really going on. But there was no change. Alicia's behavior grew more bizarre, and Luna's presence in her life became more real. Even after therapy and our tireless efforts, I began to realize one thing. This wasn't just about a child's imagination. Something darker had taken control of her. Alicia grew more distant from us. One night, I found her standing in front of her bedroom mirror, staring blankly without speaking. My wife, who saw her, asked what she was doing. However, Alicia simply whispered, "Luna told me I have to wait." Her voice was so calm, but I felt something was wrong. This wasn't just the words of a child. There was something darker and deeper. Almost every day, strange things continued to happen. Items in the house would often disappear or move without explanation. Worse still, sharp objects like kitchen knives, fruit knives, and meat knives began to appear in Alicia's room, hidden under her mattress or in her toy closet. My wife started to feel anxious every time she left the house. I couldn't sleep well either, always feeling watched by something unseen. I tried to learn more about imaginary friends and their impact on children. I read books, spoke to people who might have had similar experiences. But the more I dug, the more I felt trapped in a never-ending loop. Many said that imaginary friends were just a phase in a child's development. Usually, they were just an outlet for the child's imagination. But Alicia was different. She wasn't just imagining. She treated Luna as a real entity, something that had control over her. A conversation with the demon and Alicia.
Luna, your father.
Why?
He would be mine.
Why is your father too?
I don't want to be your sister. I just want him.
Day by day, I tried talking to Alicia to get an explanation about Luna, but every time I asked, she only responded in a soft voice. Luna doesn't like it when I talk about her. There was a sense of fear in her words, as if she was bound by something stronger than herself. Every attempt we made to pull Alicia away from the influence of that friend always ended in failure. One night, filled with tension, Alicia was seen talking to herself in the corner of her room. In a barely audible voice, she said, "Luna says she likes my dad." I, who was eavesdropping from outside the room, felt my blood freeze. When my wife asked what she meant, Alicia simply smiled faintly and replied, "She said my dad will be hers." My wife and I eventually agreed to try a different approach. We decided to bring in a spiritual expert, someone who claimed they could help drive away evil spirits or dark entities that might be controlling Alicia's mind. However, as this attempt began, Alicia's behavior grew even stranger and more terrifying. One night, Alicia screamed in a hoarse, angry voice. Her eyes seemed empty, but there was something terrifying in her gaze. With an ear-splitting tone, she said, "Luna says she has to go. You will never be able to fight her." My wife became increasingly obsessed with finding a solution, trying every possible way to free Alicia from the influence that was clearly taking over her. We spent more time with her, trying to build trust, assuring her that the imaginary friend was just an illusion. But even though we did our best, the distance between us and Alicia seemed to grow wider. Every attempt we made only worsened the tension, and slowly, we began to feel estranged from our own daughter. One night, I was awakened by the sound of small footsteps in the corridor. When I opened the door, I found Alicia standing in front of our room. Her eyes were empty, expressionless.
Do you want to talk to you?
"Luna wants to talk to you," she said without turning. I felt a cold chill crawl down my neck. This was no longer about a child talking about an imaginary friend. Alicia truly believed that figure was real. More than that, it seemed as though she was bound by something far beyond imagination. We eventually decided to take Alicia to a spiritual consultant, someone known to deal with dark entities. When the ritual began, Alicia suddenly screamed. Her body trembled violently, and her voice changed to a deep, heavy tone, like that of an adult. "Don't try to drive me away," she said in a threatening tone. "I've been here longer than you. Alicia is mine now." My wife nearly fainted when she heard those words, while I stood frozen, feeling as if my chest were being crushed by a heavy stone. Every step we took to help Alicia only dragged her deeper into the grip of an invisible force. The ritual we hoped would be the way out instead opened a door we could never close again. After the ritual, we were truly at a loss. Alicia seemed like a different person. Her once bright eyes were now empty, as if something had erased her soul. Every time we tried to talk to her, she would glance to the corner of the room with a sharp look, as if seeing something invisible. One night, I decided to secretly follow Alicia. When I heard her footsteps in the middle of the night, I peeked from behind the bedroom door. She was standing in front of the closet, staring at the dark corner of the room. Then she started talking, her voice soft and trembling. "Luna says you started to protect her." Then she laughed, a laugh that didn't sound like hers. It was cold, shrill, and foreign. My body froze. This was no longer the voice of a little girl. There was hatred and dark power seeping into her voice. Slowly, I approached, but suddenly Alicia turned sharply, her face expressionless, and said, "Don't follow me, Papa Luna doesn't like it when you disturb us." After that, the bedroom door slammed shut without her touching it, hitting my face and startling me, waking my wife from her sleep. I returned to bed with a restless heart and felt a pain on my face. All our efforts seemed in vain. My wife, nearly desperate, spent more time alone, praying and crying. I felt an overwhelming exhaustion, both physical and mental. We seemed trapped in a game we didn't understand, played by something far stronger than us. As the days went by, I began to realize that something was wrong with our house. Strange sounds could be heard at night, and small objects would always move places without explanation. One morning, I found dirty stains on the floor that I had just cleaned the night before. When I asked Alicia about it, she gave a faint smile and said,
Say, I don't have to tell you. Then Luna will see.
After that, our world changed forever. My wife was in a car accident that took her life. My heart shattered, sinking into an indescribable sadness. The police concluded that the car's brakes had failed, but their conclusion made my blood run cold. Sabotage. They firmly stated that the brakes weren't faulty due to negligence, but had been deliberately tampered with. I was called in for questioning. Despite denying my involvement, suspicion continued to point toward me. I became the prime suspect. But I knew there was something darker behind all of this, something that couldn't be explained by any evidence. And all of it led me to one name that haunted me, Alicia. Alicia, my daughter, now seemed like a completely different person. Her gaze had lost the light of life, and her movements no longer reflected the spoiled and affectionate little girl she once was. When I thought about what happened to my wife, my mind could hardly accept it. Despite all the signs pointing to her, I chose to stay silent. She was my daughter. No matter how clear the reality seemed, I couldn't let her be punished. However, that night, everything changed. Late at night, I heard a laugh from Alicia's room. A laugh that could not possibly belong to a little child. Hesitantly, I approached her slightly ajar door. The laugh suddenly stopped, replaced by a soft, secretive whispering. I peeked inside and my heart raced. Alicia sat in the corner of the room, speaking to something invisible.
Luna doesn't like Papa coming like that.
She said without looking, her voice deep and foreign, completely unlike a child's voice. My body froze. I felt something grip my chest, stopping my breath. Slowly, Alicia turned toward me. Her eyes, which were usually full of innocence, now appeared dark, like there was a bottomless pit lurking behind them. She says you already know, she continued in a chilling tone. Then she smiled, not the smile of a little girl, but a cold smile that hinted at something unspeakable.
We only be with you for a little longer, Papa.
She whispered, her voice low but echoing in my mind.
Luna said it's time.
Alicia stood there, her eyes vacant. The smile that was widening was not hers, but something far more terrifying, as if she was no longer my daughter. My body trembled. It felt as if something was pulling me into the darkness surrounding her. Luna says, it's your turn now, she said, her voice not at all Alicia's. It was deep and deafening, like a whisper from hell. I tried to step closer, but each step felt heavier. The air around me grew cold, as if the room no longer belonged to the real world. Don't try to stop us, another voice echoed, deeper, darker, coming from the shadows standing behind Alicia. I stumbled back, gasping for breath, and suddenly my body felt paralyzed. When I turned around, the shadow was now at the doorway. It had no clear shape, only a dark silhouette like a cloak gently swaying, though there was no wind. Its eyes were red, but its face. No features, only emptiness.
We will take over everything, Papa. You must become a part of us. I love you.
The voice resonated, not from Alicia's lips, but directly into my mind. My head throbbed, as if my brain were filled with that voice. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My tongue felt like it was burning. Something hot, like the lick of a beast, touched my face and body. Everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was in the hospital. It felt as though my body was no longer fully mine. My face stung as if it had been burned. My brother, who should have been working in Istanbul, was sitting beside me. "You've been in a coma for 2 months," he said. His face was grim, and his voice full of caution. I asked about Alicia. My brother was silent for a long time before he finally responded. "Alicia, she committed suicide," he said softly. "The neighbors found you and brought you here. But when they broke down the door, Alicia was already gone." I tried to understand his words, but the pain in my body shifted my focus. When I tried to move, I realized something horrifying. I was broken. I asked, and the doctor confirmed. Alicia had mutilated me then. My hands trembled. The doctor's words echoed in my head, but my mind was fixated on one thing. Luna turned out to be the vengeful spirit of Alicia's father's first wife, who committed suicide after their marriage ended due to an affair with Alicia's mother. Filled with hatred and pain, Luna vowed to get revenge. After the death of Alicia's mother on the cruise ship and the mysterious accident of her stepmother, Luna returned in a more terrifying form, using Alicia's body to terrorize her father. Now, the question is, will Alicia's father be able to escape Luna's vengeance, or will this be the end of everything? What do you think? Do you believe that pain and vengeance can live longer than death? Share your thoughts or your favorite horror story in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share with your friends. Be sure to watch more videos for even more terrifying tales. See you in the next video. Get ready for more nightmares.